Sound muted.
Performing for you this, our 34th flight demonstration of the 2014 season. I'm Lieutenant Ryan Chamberlain, narrator for the Blue Angels. Since 1946, the Blue Angels have had the unique privilege of demonstrating to the American public the precision techniques of naval aviation, hoping to inspire a culture of excellence and service to country. The maneuvers you will see demonstrated here this afternoon are coordinated tactical techniques developed by Navy and Marine Corps pilots in both peacetime training and actual combat. These maneuvers are neither stunts nor daring feats, but are refinements of basic techniques taught to every prospective naval aviator. Here in Seattle, we will demonstrate these maneuvers at very low altitudes in traditional Blue Angel formation, so that you may see and take pride in the precise fashion in which your Navy and Marine pilots are trained to fly. Having completed their takeoff maneuvers at Boeing Field, the 6 demonstration pilots have rendezvoused into the Delta formation. In this formation, our 2 solo pilots have joined on the left and right outpost position on the wings of Major Cordell in the slot. As they approach, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce the 6 pilots who will be watching perform here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, flying Blue Angel number 6, the opposing solo from Charleroi, Pennsylvania, Lieutenant Mark Tedrow. Flying Blue Angel number 5, the lead solo from Birmingham, Alabama, Lieutenant Commander Dave Tickle. Flying Blue Angel number 4, the slot pilot and the Marine Corps representative in the Delta formation from Hemet, California, Major Brandon Cordell. Flying Blue Angel number 3, the left wingman from Hummelstown, Pennsylvania, Lieutenant Commander Nate Barton. Flying Blue Angel number 2, the right wingman from Fort Mitchell, Kentucky.
Well, hi again, everybody, on KIROTV.com, along with Angela Russell. I'm Steve Rabel, and it is time. It is time, and it's really about time that we have the Blues back here in Seattle. The Blue Angels have returned to the city, and this is one of the performances, one of 2 performances this weekend, and it is always spectacular. Joining us is Lieutenant Commander Michael Chang from the U.S. Navy, who will be our guide, our narrator as we go through today's performance. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's great to be back. This is our 34th flight demonstration of the 2014 season, and like you said, it's about time we came back to Seattle. We're excited about being back here.
You guys having a good time this week?
We're having a great time this week, and as you can see right now, the Delta's coming in what we call our head-on pass.
Oh, there you go.
This is a great shot for the people to see. Great picture opportunity with the smoke on. And right about here, boss is pulling the formation up. He's going to drop the solos off, and then you're going to get the solos coming straight at you. And they're going to do the what we call the opposing 360 pass. So as the solos come over, they're going to split off in 2 opposite directions. They're going to go out behind the crowd. There's the split.
An unmistakable roar.
We missed that last year.
FA-18 Hornets.
Exactly. And they're going to come back around, and they're going to intercept right at the center point here. And during that maneuver, both solo pilots are pulling about 4.5, 5 Gs during that time.
And how fast are they going right now?
I would say it's about 350, 400 knots. There's a pass. And they're going to clear out of the airspace here and wait for the diamond to get set up.
While we have a moment, a little housekeeping. Tell us about the pilots. Tell us about this group of flyers.
Oh, you got it. Blue Angel number 6, the opposing solo, is Lieutenant Mark Tedrow. He's from Charleroi, Pennsylvania. This is his 3rd year on the team. Blue Angel number 5 is our lead solo, Lieutenant Commander Dave Tickle. He's from Birmingham, Alabama. This is his 4th year on the team. Our Marine representative is in Blue Angel number 4, the slot pilot, Major Brandon Cordell. He's from Hemet, California. On the left wing is Lieutenant Commander Nate Barton. He was actually stationed not too far from here, up north of Whidbey Island, prior to joining the team. He's from Hummonstown, Pennsylvania. He's in his second year. On the right wing, in his third year, is Lieutenant Commander John Hiltz from Kentucky there. And he's also in his third year on a team. And our commanding officer, the flight leader, boss, as we call him, is Commander Tom Frosch. He's from Clinton Township, Michigan. He's in his second year on a team. And usually, you know, I said a couple of third and fourth year guys on a team.
Yes, I noticed that, right?
Yeah, well, that's not usually the case, but because we were sequestered last year, we held the pilots back, and that's really so they can train the new pilots here.
All right, so what are they doing now?
Here's our signature move that everybody talks about. You know, we're 18 inches apart from wingtip to canopy right there. This is our Diamond 360.
And right now, those other pilots are following the boss's line. Is that how?
They are looking at each other's jets.
Okay.
So everybody's looking pretty much at boss's jet. Major Cordell in the slot is watching both jets as well as boss's jet. And he has probably the best view, and that's why he's also the training officer for the demonstration when it comes to the Diamond. But they're pulling about 2.5, 3 Gs in that maneuver, but they're basically maintaining that 18-inch wingtip to canopy separation that we talk about. And you got the two solo pilots coming out for their first of their many opposing maneuvers here.
And we were talking about the solo pilots. I know yesterday when we aired the rehearsal live, just how much of it's a rough ride there being in those solo jets.
It's a rough ride. So if you watch the maneuver, they're going to go into a 90-degree angle bank, and just that quick bump of the stick and that quick turn right there, that's kind of rough in that jet. But as a pilot, you're controlling the motion, so you probably won't feel it as bad as if you were just a passenger riding that jet.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the rehearsal, how have the practices and yesterday's rehearsal, because I know you debriefed immediately after. How'd it go?
Oh, it went great. I mean, the best thing about flying over the water is the air gets really calm once you get over the land, over the water here. So as they're joining up and setting up for their maneuvers behind the crowd here, that's where the air gets a little bumpy. But once they come over to the land here and hit the water, everything smooths out really nicely.
And for those of you who are following along at KIROTV.com, when we say behind the crowd, it actually is going on over the city in places down along Rainier Valley, maybe swinging out a little bit north of there. We're looking directly across at Mercer Island here, down on the shores of Lake Washington at Stan Sayers Pitts, just to give you a lay of the land as to where we are just south of the I-90 floating bridge.
Here we got the diamond roll, and this is that maneuver we kind of talked about yesterday during rehearsal, that when boss says okay, and on that K part, that's when they begin that roll, and all 4 pilots will roll at the same time, keeping sight of each other, obviously, but basically it's the very same mechanical movement they're making with their wrist there.
See the people there watching from all over.
Yes.
Just get anywhere you can to get the best view, even if it's here on KIROTV.com.
Absolutely. So now we got the solo pilots coming in, and this is that painful maneuver we talked about yesterday. They're going to go inverted, so now you got all the blood rushing to their head. So they maintain this inverted flight for quite some time, and then once they make this pass,
there it is.
they come. Wow. So they're going to do a quick roll. They make this pass. They stay inverted. Now they're going to push down on the stick where they start climbing away, and that forward motion on a stick now just pushes more blood into your head. So no matter how many times they do it, they'll tell you this is one of their more painful maneuvers.
And how do they manage it when they're in there in terms of do they do anything special?
No, there's not much you can do when it's the reverse of what you're used to. You know, when you're sitting straight up and you have the blood rushing from your head to the feet, you can do something about that. When it's the opposite, there's not much you can do. You just kind of deal with it, and so the maneuver lasts for a certain amount of time, and they'll come out of it.
Pull out and
We know the flyers do not wear, the pilots, they don't wear pressure suits. They have the jumpsuit just like you.
We don't wear G-suits, and that reason is so we can fly as close as 18 inches apart.
Wow.
So here's that cadence that you'll hear boss say. So that's all broadcasted, so everybody out here on the shoreline as well as online can actually hear boss make that call.
I love that smoke off. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've seen a couple maneuvers where the smoke comes on, and you've seen a couple maneuvers like in that situation where the smoke's not on at all. And that's basically because if you're looking out at the water right now, you kind of see the smoke just kind of lingering. And we call that smoke on the line. And that's basically a safety thing where the smoke's not dissipating quick enough. It's more important for us to keep the smoke off so we're not, hampering each other's view there.
So it can be a help, but it can also be a hindrance. So you have to know when to use it.
You have to know when to use it and when not to use it. So
get ready for the aircraft carrier landing coming up right here.
Right. So, you know, a typical Navy aircraft that lands on the carrier, you're going to have that tail hook extended. And this is this is the Fortis that we call it. You got one jet inverted and the other jet upright.
Landing gear down.
With the landing gear and the tail hook
up,
down.
yes.
Yeah.
This is euphemistically known as flying dirty.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. This is flying dirty. So your gear's down, and basically what that means is, you know, when your aircraft is clean, your gear's up, the flaps are up, tail hook's up, and it's a clean surface. You know, you're flying a lot faster. You can do that. When you're flying dirty with the gear down, you're limited to the airspeed what the gear and the gear doors can take.
And you said this is your 34th show of the season. How many do you do total when it's all said and done?
When it's all said and done, you know, for 2014, we plan to do 68 demonstrations throughout the year.
68.
68. Right now, we're going to max at 65 if everything goes well, because we already had a couple weather situations where we couldn't do a demonstration. But you know, we were going to be at 34 different cities, so we've already we have not missed a city so far. And right now, this is our 34th.
All right, looks like we have another maneuver coming up.
Yeah, this is our diamond dirty loop. So again, in that dirty configuration, they're going to be able to show you the power from the General Electric engines they got here. And they're going to do a full-on loop with the gear down.
And you mentioned the weather a few moments ago. You know, we did have some rain and a little bit of weather drama around here. Mm-hmm. Are we getting the high show today based on the clouds that you see?
You're getting a high show right now. Mm-hmm. And in this position, you know, we talk about Boss talking them through every single maneuver. Well, in this maneuver, they're in afterburner right now, so you can kind of hear how loud that engine is. Major Cordell in that slot position can't hear Boss at all during this time. So, I mean, he's right tucked in underneath his jet and that lead jet, and it is so loud, he won't be able to hear anything.
So when you can't hear the boss, what is he relying on then? Just
he's relying on his sight picture, but exactly what you talked about, the muscle memory that he knows Boss is going to have about this much pull as he goes through the maneuver and this much G's that he's going to anticipate. You got Lieutenant Commander Tickle here. He's going to demonstrate how quickly and how small the circle turn is that the FA-18 Hornet can do. He's pulling about 7.5 G's as he's going through this 360-degree maneuver here.
7.5 G's.
And this is that maneuver where you're really going to have to fight the G's from draining from your head. So he's doing the anti-G straining maneuver. We call it the Hick maneuver. And he's doing that throughout the entire time. So this way he doesn't pass out. And he's keeping the oxygen in his brain here.
You know, I was going to say, I was curious because knowing that you guys were all in such great shape, that did you guys also have to do it? Because I know Angela and I, when we flew with you, we had to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of us, you know, we've done it enough times where we know there are certain things you can flex that will, bring the blood back rushing in. But everybody's doing it at the same time, so it just depends on. There are some guys on a team we like to call them maybe G monsters, where they can pull like 7.5, 8 Gs, and it's no business.
Nothing.
It's nothing to them.
Wow.
But that's just a lot of training, and you're absolutely right. We're in top physical shape, and we need to be, because it's a workout in there. So.
I remember Lieutenant Tickle is the one who gave me a ride several years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember asking, what do you eat before you do this? He's like, oh, I have a sandwich. Like, no big deal.
Exactly. A lot of people worry about, flying, and so they'll say, all right, well, if I don't eat anything, I'll feel better. And that's actually the opposite. If you're flying an empty stomach, you're actually going to get sick a lot quicker.
Finding that right balance.
It is that right balance, yeah. So here are Diamonds coming in to do the double Farvel, and you're going to see Boss and Major Cordell in the four-jet go inverted, and now Major Cordell is going to join upside down on Boss. You can see the closure rate begin to creep in here.
And about how high off the deck are they?
Oh, right now off the water, they're probably about 200 to 400 feet there.
Wow.
But the separation between the four and one jet, I would say it's about anywhere from probably about 10 feet, from the canopy to the bottom of that jet.
And those of you watching this on KIROTV.com, you may hear the music. This is a playlist put together by the Blue Angels team, and every year they adjust that list.
Exactly. So now you're going to get the opposing maneuver here. They're going to turn 270 degrees, and they're going to cross right in front of you. It's going to make it look like they're going to hit each other, but there's actually a lot of safety involved. Here's the cross.
That was close.
Yeah, and now they're going to go come back around, and they're going to cross again right at center point.
Cross with minimum separation. Let's watch as both pilots sustain 6 times the force of gravity required to cross their aircraft over center point.
And you just heard Lieutenant Chamberlain, Blue Angel number 7, our narrator, just talk about it. They're probably pulling about 6 Gs right now just to maintain this arc here, and they're going to cross right back over center point.
Does anyone besides the boss speak during the performance?
Well, yeah, the lead solo is going to, and the opposing solo are going to make calls to each other. They're on a separate frequency. And so there's 2 frequencies or 2 radio channels in the jet that you can select. So for the solo pilots, they're going to have a separate discrete frequency just so they can talk to themselves. At the same time, their second radio, their second frequency is going to be on the diamond so they can hear what maneuver the boss is in.
Okay. So when they're doing that opposing maneuver, how are they making sure that they don't hit each other? What are they following?
Well, they have a contract to each other. So as they're passing down center show line here, they agree upon which side they're going to pass on ahead of time. There.
Okay.
Look at that. Stunning.
Yeah, this is our echelon parade, or what we call our fan break there, and they're just flying what we call paint. So the pilots are basically looking at specific marks on the Hornet there, and that's what they're maintaining in their visual sights the entire time.
The boss is the one on the upside right here?
As he's turning right, he's in the lead jet, so he's on the top side, but when he came across, he was the bottom jet.
Right.
Yep.
Setting up for their next maneuver, Blue Angels.
And as they set up, I just wanted to mention, because I was just intrigued by this, the fact that the Hornet has such significance because it is a fighter and an attack.
Right. Absolutely.
Being able to do both.
Being able to do both, right. You'll see a lot of the maneuvers here where it's just typical basic dogfighting skills. And then at the same time, some of the maneuvers, there's just, the attack mode of it, being able to drop ordnance. And this is the opposing horizontal roll, is how quickly that jet rolls, and it's just a testament to the technology that's in the jets, the fly-by-wire technology there. And this is them going into a vertical climb with the afterburner. Yeah, so Angela, you talked about the music. So we go through it every year during the off-season, the winter break, and as pilots doing winter training, we'll have meetings probably once or twice a week. Just look over the music, just look over the demo from the previous year, and just kind of gauge, what sounds good, what doesn't sound good, what's been in the demonstration for quite some time, and you'll notice this year's music, it's pretty current.
It is, yeah, I've noticed
so,
that, yes.
And that's just, it depends on the team, so the team picks it basically, and we'll go from there. And every once in a while we'll ask for suggestions from the crowd, and like I mentioned yesterday, the crowd seems to love a lot of music from Top Gun, so
right.
We'll do what we can every once in a while to get that in.
So
there.
give us the scoop. Who is it that takes the lead on the music? Was there someone here on the team more into it than the others?
Every once in a while, yeah. Currently on the team, Deuce, number 2, he's very into the music, and then our lead solo as the operations officer, he has a lot to say at what goes on too. But the music committee is basically run, believe it or not, by 7 and myself. 7 and 8 kind of runs the music committee, since we deal with the music and the narration during the show so much.
Well, you did a good job. It's a great playlist.
Thank you very much.
You could throw a Tony Bennett in there if you like. Maybe not. Maybe not.
So this is our Diamond Echelon roll here. Again, boss has said okay, so they're rolling all as one here. And it's just, you can tell this is a beautiful day for high show.
It really is.
You got some cloud cover, but it's high enough that they're not worried about it whatsoever.
Right, it's all about the I guess the level of the clouds, right? The cloud cover.
The ceiling, yep.
And I think that was one of your songs, right? The ceiling can't hold us.
Well, there's the 2 sneak passes right there. 5 and 6 just went there, and 6 can go straight up into the vertical here and go into a series of vertical rolls. And basically that maneuver there, which is a crowd favorite because they love being surprised when they don't know the jets are coming. But basically it demonstrates how, the jets are going to travel almost as fast as sound, if not faster. So you're going to see the jet a lot quicker than you're going to hear it.
I remember the first performance when they did that, and we were on the pit tower in those days, and it literally rattled everything around you. And for those of us who didn't know, it scared the bejesus out of us.
Yeah, like I said, it's a crowd favorite. For people that don't know it's coming, they love it every single time. And we actually enjoy it too because we know what's coming. So we'll actually be watching the crowd, and we'll sell it also. Like we'll look towards the echelon roll, selling it that well they're looking to the right, so there must be something coming on, and we're just watching the crowd's reaction because everyone else is looking that way.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's great.
It's good to know what you guys are thinking up there.
We have fun. We definitely have fun doing what we're doing. You got the 5-plane line abreast loop being set up there, so our lead solo pilot, Lieutenant Commander Tickle, has joined the Diamond. This is a tough maneuver because Boss is going to be the center jet there, and all 4 pilots are actually looking 90 degrees towards his jet as they pull up into the vertical and do this loop. So when people kind of look and say, well, how hard is it? Well, imagine, traveling down a highway with 5 cars line abreast like this and just looking at the center car and trying to maintain.
Oh, wow. That is a great way to explain it.
Exactly. So.
And keeping your speed just right.
Yeah, so Boss is going to tell him, actually, he's going to set the power, and everyone's going to keep that power set. And in this maneuver, the pilots are all working really hard to maintain that distance as well as that same level of pull that the Boss is doing. As they come down on the backside here, they're going to accelerate quite a bit, so Boss is going to actually tell them to deploy the speed brakes. And you'll be able to see that the speed brakes are up between the 2 vertical stabs. You'll see another stab come up, and that's their speed brakes on the jet. So now they've already shifted back into the Diamond. This is what we call our Diamond Stinger. And then Blue Angel number 5 is going to be detached here, and he's going to set up for his 4-point maneuver.
4-point maneuver.
Yeah, so he's going to do a 4-point roll, and basically he's going to roll 90 degrees, but he's going to stop for a split second at each maneuver there, each roll. And that's basically to demonstrate how quick the fly-by-wire technology on the Hornet is. How quickly it can stop on a dime, stop that roll, and go right into the next one.
Flexible.
Yes.
And resilient.
Yeah, we've been flying this for 28 years in the demonstration. The Hornet's been around, I think, since 1983, operationally in a fleet. And there's still a few squadrons, actually, that still have what we call this the Baby Hornet.
Right.
Or the Super Hornet.
Because now they have the Super, right?
Exactly. So we call this our Legacy Hornet or the Baby Hornet.
We talk about the G-forces on the pilots and on those of us, the visitors, who get lucky enough to fly with you. But the G-forces on those jets, too, I mean, they take a lot of punishment.
So just like even in a commercial airliner, everybody has each aircraft has a certain life to it, a certain number of flight hours, and it's the same thing on these Hornets. So they'll do their 90-degree angle banks here. There's a stop, there's a hesitation there, there's one more, and then they're right back upright.
You talk about the fun that you guys have, but there's also a bigger purpose to it. I mean, you talked about the mission of really being able to inspire people.
Exactly. We have a lot of people here, kids of all ages, that, when they watch us, they're oohing and awing. What we want them to take away is basically, not everyone's going to get a chance to grow up to be a Blue Angel, but, we hope people will see that and be inspired to do their best in whatever it is that they do, I can tell you everybody on the team, we didn't, as we fly right overhead here, this is actually another crowd favorite here. They're going to go, you see they're stacked vertically. They're going to go into the Diamond, and they're going to do their vertical break. And they get the smoke on, and they should. It's a very beautiful looking maneuver here.
Oh, wow.
So as I was mentioning earlier, if you ask every pilot on the team right now, everybody on the team, we didn't join the Navy to become Blue Angels. That was far from what we were thinking. We joined to serve our country. Second is to fly. We enjoy flying, and it's just a fun thing to do. And we have a small opportunity to fly on the team, and we're very humbled to actually be able to do that for the 2 or 3 years that we do it. You got the 2 solo pilots that are going to meet right at center, and they're going to demonstrate the pitch capability of the jets. So they're going to cross here. They're going to pitch straight up. They're going to do a split ass and come back down and meet back at center point.
I tell you what, I couldn't get over when I had a chance to ride in one of those jets with Lieutenant Tickle was just how fast it happens. Like, one minute you're on the ground, and the next minute you're just, It's
a high performance machine.
Yes. Steve, I guess you were too busy to having your marbles moved around to remember much of that, or?
Well, it was so long ago there were still propellers on the planes. That's how long ago it was since I flew.
So as they meet back here, they're going to go right back into a knife edge here. And roll right out.
And again, as we've talked about before, every one of these maneuvers that look like it's just part of a performance are actually part of what you as Navy flyers do because of your jobs, and in some cases these kinds of maneuvers are used in warfare situations.
Exactly. So the maneuvers we do are all taught through flight school, as well as your specific platforms here, and a platform is exactly the jet you're flying. So the Hornet's a strike fighter platform here, and when you watch the diamond here, they're going to go into the barrel roll break. So they're going to do a barrel roll, and as they come down on the backside and level out, they're going to break in 4 different directions. But going back to what you said, yeah, these are all things that are taught to the naval aviators as we go into fleet and we learn these things. The only difference is we're just doing it a lot closer, a lot faster than you normally would in the fleet.
And you practice, you have shows 300, you're on the road 300 days of the year, right?
That's correct. So once the season ends in November, our new pilots go right into training right away. So there's really not a long break other than 2 weeks we get off for Christmas. So we're training from November until that Christmas time period, and then we'll move to El Centro, California, our winter training home from January to March there. And here they'll do the barrel roll break here. And we go into 12 straight weeks of flying, 15 flights a week to get the demonstration together in time for the season.
And does it change significantly from year to year, the demonstration?
It doesn't, only because of, like what I said, the training it takes to get the demonstration under your belt. And once we start our air show season off in March, we're safe enough to put on a demonstration. But as the season progresses, we're fine tuning things. Right now the demonstration is about 44 minutes long. By the end of the season, it's about 43 minutes long, is because the turns and joins happen that much faster. Speaking
of fast, how about not fast?
Yeah, so this is about 115, 120 knots, which for most people is pretty fast, but for a jet, it's actually relatively slow. And they're basically standing Blue Angels 5 and 6 right there on their tails here. You got Blue Angel number 6 in the front there, and in the back, Blue Angel number 5 is basically just staring at 6 and maintaining his position off his aircraft.
For those pilots who are listening in, what does a pilot have to do to accomplish that in the cockpit? Well, you have to set your angle of attack, and that's how far the nose is pitched up. And then now you're just adjusting the throttles to maintain what you're doing. And there's very slight inputs here. You can't use the stick too much left and right, otherwise you're going to turn into the other guy. So there's a lot of combinations of stick throws as well as rudder movements just to maintain that position. See that how powerful those General Electric engines are. They can maintain that slow speed and then climb right away.
Wow.
So here's a horizontal maneuver. These are a low brake cross. So all 4 aircraft broke away in 4 different directions. They're going to go out to about 1.5 miles. They're going to turn into each other and cross at a distance, and then they're going to make their way back towards center point. And hopefully all 4 aircraft will stack and cross at the same time at center point.
And center point, for those who can't see it, is out in the lake, out on the log boom?
No, there's a barge out there that's a center point that they're shooting for right now. And we talked a little bit about it yesterday, the visual checkpoints that they're looking at. And this is what Moss is doing right now. So he's flying his visual checkpoints. He's actually calling out on the radio his 2-mile mark, his 1.5 mile mark, as well as his ground speed. And everybody else is listening to that and looking at their checkpoints. So they're hitting their checkpoints at the same time to all meet at center point at the same time here.
Okay. So that barge has a very important job.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people assume that with the amount of technology in these jets that the computers do a lot of flying, and no, that's not the case. Our guys do a lot of visual flying. Obviously, in formations, the computer's not going to hold you that close together, so you're looking at the other jet, staring at the other jet, staring at the paint. But even for these crossing maneuvers, they're looking at checkpoints along the water or here, over land.
I can tell you at home, folks, those two jets came literally over top of where we were sitting.
And now we just hear it behind us.
Yeah,
we're wondering what's next. We know you have a sneaky pass usually up your sleeve at some point. So
well, those have already happened. So,
they had
yeah.
sneaked up on
So
us.
sneaky, that's right.
But you guys have seen it every year now, so you guys are already pros at it.
It surprises me every time, but
that's a double tuck over roll that our two solo pilots just did, and it's tough to show you what really we're trying to do on a TV screen here, because your television cameras are so strong. But the purpose of that maneuver is it's a visual illusion, like the planes are really just one plane. So if you're at the right point in the crowd and you're looking at it, you really just see one plane, and then when they make that roll, all of a sudden you see two planes come apart, and that gets the crowd going too, because the entire time they're waiting for that other sneak pass that you just talked about. In reality, no, both solo pilots are right there.
And speaking of crowds, as I look over here in Lake Washington and see the boats out there, I just think, wow, what a view they must have.
Yes,
I hope they have earplugs out there.
Right.
And on the bridge as well. Look, this is the I-90 floating bridge. They close it down, of course, for rehearsals and performance, and they allow people to walk out onto the bridge to watch the demonstration, and it is a great viewing platform.
Yes, if you don't have a boat, there's the location.
Yep.
So what we got now, we got the tuck under brake. This is a relatively, it looks easy, but it's actually pretty difficult.
What makes it difficult?
They're going to roll and separate into Boss. So Boss is that top jet there on the right-hand side, and he's going to make this roll to the right. As you can see, they're starting rolling. And you have to maintain that roll as well as that separation to stack back up here. Really good job right there. Steve, you were talking about earlier, behind the crowd, we have a lot of people right now that are just lining the, road over back at Boeing Field just to watch the takeoff and the land. And in, a lot of maneuvers, obviously here at center point, you get to see all the maneuvers and everything like that. But if you're behind the crowd, if you're not here and you're just watching the jets, that's the other part. That's the other fun part to watch, is watch the jets actually join back up. The maneuvers they have to make just to form back up in a diamond, or form back up as the solos are joining right now. They're going to form up into the delta.
And to find those points that you were talking about, it could be, yesterday you mentioned it could be a green roof, it could be a building here or something there. But those are the visual cues that they're using to get out to certain points a certain distance away before they start that
exactly.
turn back.
Yep. Those separation maneuvers and where they come back and cross, they're using checkpoints. I flew on Thursday with 4, and we were just doing that. We saw an elevated pier for I think it was a 1.5 mile checkpoint, and for a 2 mile checkpoint, we saw a house with like a blue roof. So those are how specific we get when we
really. So you might just identify a particular house that looks and say that's a good marker.
Maybe it's probably one of their people out there, their houses, they can draw stuff on it. We've seen that happen. People will say fly Navy, if it's at a good spot, if it's at a good 1.5 miles, then that's probably the checkpoint they're going to use. So
I can tell you by looking along the shoreline here and all around the area, the people have come flocking back to see the Blues.
Yes.
I mean, Seafair would be the first to admit that last year's attendance was down a bit, and it was specifically because the Blue Angels were not present. You guys are back, and so are the crowds here in Seattle again.
Now here's our Delta roll. Similar to the Diamond roll, it's the same thing. Now you got all 6 aircraft rolling. And again, Boss is going to say, okay. And then right there, the jets will start the roll. And for this roll, 5 and 6 are the 2 outpost guys on the outside there. And this is a tough roll for them also to maintain that position. So. Steve, you were talking about how much Seattle lights are all back out here now. Talking to Seafair people, a lot of people in Seattle, they were telling us they don't. A lot of people don't realize, hey, we're Navy Marine Corps. We're still active duty military. We still belong to Navy Marine Corps, and we come to Seattle so much that a lot of Seattleites think, hey, we belong to Seattle. So when we weren't here in Seattle, they didn't understand that it was kind of beyond our control that we weren't here. But we really appreciate that hospitality, and we enjoy quite a bit coming back to Seattle.
Well, this is a favorite spot for, I know, a lot of the guys. One that they often bring their families to. And
exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, my wife is here, so she's enjoying it right now, and get a chance to enjoy the summer here in Seattle and then watch Seafair.
As you know, I was talking to Lieutenant Commander Royals yesterday, and he was saying that on his bucket list is to go be out on the log boom one day.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I
think that's on the bucket list for a lot of us guys, because we're usually not on the log boom.
Yeah, you're up there thinking, that looks like that would be living the dream, right?
Exactly.
And all those people out on the log boom are saying, looking up at those jets saying, boy, would that be living the dream?
Yes.
So here's our fleur-de-lis, and if you listen closely, we'll open up the scanner. You can hear Boss actually call the cadence here. So there it is. And you mentioned it yesterday, you know, it is a cadence. It's almost like a song. You can hear Boss do it. And, you know, when we talk about debrief, we look at everything as when he says smoke on, do all 4 jets or all 6 jets smoke come on at the same time. And if it's not coming on at the same time, those are the little things we'll actually talk about, too. It's like, oh, you were late or you were early. So we really nitpick at it. And the reason why we do that is we know we're never going to fly a perfect demonstration. That's just impossible as humans to do. But if we are always striving for that perfection, then 1, you know it's a safe demonstration. And 2, if you keep striving for that and you keep nitpicking the small things, you're never going to let your standards drop. So that's why we do what we do there.
Inspiring excellence.
Exactly. So here our 2 solo pilots are going to go join back up on a diamond here, and they'll come back for another delta maneuver here. And you get to watch the 2 solo pilots do a section roll. And even in the, you know, the lead solo, Lieutenant Commander Tickle is saying the same thing. When any kind of roll that happens, he's going to say, okay, and on that K again, the jets will start to roll. So.
Is that a system that has sort of developed over the years that seems to work the best, the kind of the almost sing-song sort of cadence?
Exactly, and this way you can tell if there's any kind of difference in the tone or different kind of inflection. You know, and Boss will do it if you can hear his comm the entire time. You know, he'll tell you when to pull and stuff, and if he's prolonging that pull, that sing-song part, then you know, okay, hey, it needs to be a stronger pull coming up. So there's a method to the madness, and you're right. The way they sing that song, the way they do that cadence, it tells the pilots a lot of what's going on also.
And when they're actually flying missions as part of the fleet, a lot of communication going on. Is it usually to one person leading the squadron, or how does that work?
So I mean, for our guys, they're usually flying in sections, so there's a lot of banter going back and forth. I mean, for us to launch off the ship to fly to Afghanistan, we call it the Boulevard, but it's about a 45-minute transit to get into Afghanistan. So during that time, you're talking a lot. You're double-checking your instruments. You're double-checking your fuel. You're looking for your tanker a lot of times, because by the time we get 45 minutes in, we're going to need gas before we do our mission. So you're talking about that kind of stuff, but at the same time, it's just like riding in a car ride, except you're in 2 separate cars, you know. So you're just talking back and forth about everyday things, how family is, and kind of go there. That's not the case right now.
Of course not, right?
They're all listening to Boss, and this is going to be the loop break cross. So again, it's going to be a separation maneuver here. So in this maneuver, you don't get to hear it, but it's a little different. So Boss is just going to say, ready, break. And on that cue, the smoke's going to come on, and all 6 aircraft going to break in 6 different directions. And this is another very popular one. It just looks really gorgeous in the sky here.
Until the smoke came on and they all break in different directions, it looks as though they're all one piece, all connected, going up.
And I love how at that moment the right song comes on. You guys did a good job with it, really did.
Thank you. And this is the same thing. He's getting his visual checkpoints, because now he's going to have 6 aircraft. We're going to separate. They've already separated. They're going to climb and then come back towards center point, and they're going to try to stack all 6 aircraft again. And in this situation, the smoke is really important. This is more of a safety thing, because at a distance, it's going to be hard to pick out your playmate, the person that you're going to cross with. So with the smoke, it allows the pilots to easily pick it out at a distance.
Yes.
Hey, that's the person I'm looking for as we cross.
And I was reading that these Hornets can actually, in many cases, withstand surface-to-air missiles. I mean, that's how resilient they are.
Yeah, so, you know, the way our fuel tanks are built in, there's actually foam in the wings for our fuel tanks. So if it takes any kind of anti-aircraft fire in the wings, it will reseal itself, so this way you're not losing fuel out of your wing tanks. So here's the cross, and again, Boss is calling out the distance as well as the ground speed.
From the shore, you would swear that two of them are literally coming right together, and yet there's a good safety distance.
There's a good safety distance. So they're gonna, you know, like I said, they have a contract with each other where they're gonna pass, even if they're at the same altitude. And then the three jets that came crowd right to crowd left, when they make that right turn and join back on Boss, they're pulling about 6.5, 7 Gs to make that turn and get back to Boss.
You explained this yesterday. I don't know if you call it a dome, but the amount of airspace, the area around here that we have that's kind of cleared for you to do your performances, how big?
It's 5 nautical miles up to 16,000 feet. And we call it a TFR, a temporary flight restriction, and it's just basically a nice, almost not really a cone, but you know, a cylinder of airspace that we're going to keep all the maneuvers in, and you know, other aircraft, you know, aren't allowed to penetrate that that area. Now, every once in a while it happens, and that's why we have safety observers on the comm card here that work with the pilots, and if they spot traffic or other aircraft approaching, they'll call that out and they'll let Boss know. And this way, one, they'll let them know is it's a factor, is going to get in the way to demonstration, and two, if it's not a factor, then you know, they'll continue the demonstration here.
Now, is this the, I'm afraid to guess because I might get it wrong, is it the Echelon?
No, this is our Delta Breakout.
Delta Breakout, okay.
And this is, usually when we do this, you'll hear the crowd cheering. So for those out on the beach and the shoreline, you got your cameras, this is the one you want. So they'll come straight at you here, they'll get the smoke on, and then they'll separate. And again, the breakout is just something the crowd loves to see. And I think it talked about it yesterday. It is one of the easiest maneuvers that we do, but it is one of the most favorite for the crowd.
In dramatic fashion, ladies and gentlemen, the Blue Angel Delta Breakout.
Very nice.
You got the number 4 jet coming right over us right now.
Beautiful.
Just woke a couple of folks up.
I know. That was gorgeous.
Yep.
And there's one more pass, though, before it ends, right?
Right. They're going to do the Delta flat pass here, and it's going to come from the right to the left. And they're rejoining right now behind us, behind the crowd. They're getting back into that Delta formation there. And then they're going to, once they go from right to left, they're going to head straight back over to Boeing Field. So all the guys that are, you know, hanging out at Boeing Field to watch the landing, they get a chance to watch them land and watch the ground show portion.
It's a different experience because they, well, first of all, what I'm curious about this, when they leave this spot over Lake Washington, are they flying back to Boeing Field in a group, or is it,
they fly back in a group?
Okay.
Yep, they fly back in a group, and we'll do what's called the pitch-up break, and that's the quickest way to get all 6 aircraft on the ground. And when they do that pitch-up break, they're talking about they pull 7.5 Gs in that break to slow the aircraft down, and then they'll all land one at a time. But then that pitch-up break, they'll separate those 6 aircraft from that Delta formation to singles.
So we're awaiting the final pass of the Blue Angels back again here at Seafair, and so glad to have them, and so glad, Michael, to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
You will be joining us tomorrow for our actual televised portion of our Seafair celebration and the Blue Angels demonstration here along the shores and above the waters of Lake Washington.
The Blue Angels 2014.
Yeah, and I would tell people, you know, if you got pictures, you got anything you want to send to us, you know, you can find us on Twitter or even Instagram at Blue Angels. So we love posting and responding back. So
awesome.
And it's great to be back. We're absolutely thrilled to be back here in Seattle.
So see, Steve, you could tweet with the Blue Angels year-round.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess I could. I'm not big on tweeting, Michael. I don't know if you do
He's getting the hang of it.
That's just great. Flying over the boats on Lake Washington. This is, and you've talked about it too, this is one of the most picturesque areas that you guys get to perform in. So another reason why you enjoy coming back here.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, it's a remote show. You miss some of the intimacy because, you know, at a field you get to see the pilots. You get to interact with them. We come to the crowd line and shake hands and take pictures. But you really touch so many more people here. You get such a larger crowd at a remote show. Everybody gets a chance to come out and enjoy the weather and enjoy what we got to offer.